being a leader means to motivate other people to take action on what they believe in.
Right.
That also is applicable to parenting.
Hello and welcome to Up Close and Personal Season 2 at InvokED Studio, where we dive deep into the heart of leadership, collective action and education equity. I'm your host, Shashidhar S.A., and today we are joined by our guest, Mr. Elijah Bach. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you so much.
To introduce you, Mr. Bach is an entrepreneur, philanthropist, co-founder of Bach Family Foundation and Trust, which focuses on enhancing parental engagement in education. Also, he has also support family through scholarships and education other initiatives. Mr. Bach, I'd like to start with asking, I've read that you have an extensive work in real estate and then transition to founding the foundation. So how did that happen?
Well, it happened when I became a dad,
Okay.
basically. So during my 20-year career in business, I was fortunate enough to get married and started having children. And because of my upbringing where I didn't have a father myself, my parents were divorced when I was very young, so I was raised by my mom.
Right.
So long before I became a dad, I was already determined that one day when I become a dad, I'm going to trying to be there for my children and trying to be the best dad possible. And then when I actually became a dad, the first thought that came to me was that, what do I do?
Right.
I have no idea what to do with my own children. And initially I thought it was unique to my own situation because of my upbringing, but when I asked my friends, when I see other people, it seems like they all have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
So that's how I sort of became more and more interested in parenting and education. And fortunately, by that time, my business was at a point where I could afford to do something that I actually feel passionate about. And that was actually in the beginning of year 2020.
Okay.
And that was my 20th year of doing the business. And also in January of 2020, I turned 40 years old. And having number 4 in front of my age felt like a big deal.
Right.
Felt like a time to start a new chapter of my life. So that's when I and my wife, we decided to just do something very different, to establish this foundation that are focused on parents, to support parents with some evidence-based educational resources so that parents can make better informed decisions about their parenting practice every day.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are the biggest challenges that you have encountered since you started the foundation and the work?
Well, in terms of practical challenges, I have never ran a nonprofit organization before. If you had asked me prior to I started the foundation, what is nonprofit, I would be saying, why would you do anything for nonprofit?
Right.
So I really didn't know anything about that aspect. Also, I wasn't very familiar with this education space either. So just not knowing what this whole industry is about, that was a challenge.
Right.
But in terms of actually carrying out the mission of the foundation, one of the very first things I did as soon as I started the foundation was to put together this group of advisors.
Right.
And that's something I didn't do when I started my real estate business 25 years ago. I just learned a lot from my own mistakes. And at that time, I didn't think about asking people for advice.
Right.
So that was one lesson I learned from that. So this time around, I didn't want to waste my time making mistakes, so I wanted to learn from somebody else's mistake. So I put the group together who advised me on various aspects of the running a foundation. So there hadn't been a lot of challenges in terms of running the organization, but in terms of implementing our programs and what we're actually trying to do, there are several challenges that I faced with the other stakeholders dealing with bureaucracies in the large international organizations that we work with, the government ministries, school districts, mostly just the speed of getting things done, because I tend to work quite fast because there is no bureaucracy in my foundation. Basically, I'm the one who make the decision and then I can take action right away.
Right.
And it doesn't happen like that in other organizations or
Right.
governments. So that had been somewhat frustrating at times, but that it is what it is. So I try to work with what we have.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. You also said that, when you started your business, like all the mistakes you learned from that, and leading that, and also now starting the foundation, in leading, like leadership, right? So what does it define? How do you define leadership? What does it mean to you personally?
For me, being a leader means to motivate other people to take action on what they believe in.
Right.
I try to set an example
Right.
for other people by trying to walk the walk. I was never comfortable growing up when somebody tells me something to do when they're not doing it themselves.
Yes.
And
Right.
that also is applicable to parenting.
Right.
For my own children, when I, trying to get them to do something, I don't just tell them without explaining why or without me being an example.
Right.
So that's for me, that is a leader. You inspire people and you motivate them, you let them understand
Right.
why it's important for them to do it for their own benefits.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you really touched on a very nice point about a good leader is someone who also show through the example.
Yeah.
Not just tell them what to do, but actually do it towards the action and set a good example. Has there been any leader or a mentor that you got inspired? Who do you look up to?
That's a good question. My mom was a person who really lived a life that was dedicated for her children.
Right.
Even though there are many differences between me and her, and we are not always on the same page.
Right.
But in terms of her passion to devote herself for her children and at every cost,
Right.
she is the one who brought me and my younger sister to America when we were young, when we were teenagers, without having any resources or any connections, just
Right.
like a typical immigrant story. But she just sacrificed her life for a better opportunity for her children. So
Right.
I would, owe everything that I have to her, because she's the one who actually gave me these type of opportunities and showed me this kind of a passion for parenting,
Right.
in a way. Yeah.
Right. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing that. It's hits the nail, right? Most of the times we don't recognize the leaders just in our own family, in our own
Yeah.
surrounding ourselves. We always look up to someone who is you don't know, you don't
Yeah.
see them. I resonate with that a lot, right? So going forward, you have worked with the parental engagement in the education, right? How important do you think that is? Because most of the times we also see that while some of the parents really understand the importance of the education, but with the way the world is working right now, they don't have enough time, to give. So what's your experience and thoughts on that?
No, I really do believe that the parent population is the most important people who can make the biggest impact in the world. And the reason why I think that is because I know for a fact, and this is not my opinion, it is a fact, that there are far more number of children in the world who have parents than the number of children who have access to teachers and schools.
Right.
And this global population of parents are extremely underutilized. And because I work directly with these major stakeholders, the people who are making decisions on education at the UN agencies, World Bank, OECD, government ministries, and then also in the private sector, this education industry is a huge industry, over
Right.
$1 trillion every year that are spent on education.
Right.
But overwhelming majority of the resources are focused on students and teachers.
Right.
They do need all the support they can get, but I am always wondering why not as much or even more focus on parents, because
Right.
they are really the biggest impact makers for their children's education, as well as every other aspect of their development. So that's why I know for a fact that supporting parent makes sense. And because there are plenty of evidence that supports that when parents are better engaged, the children do better in every aspect of their
Right.
development and school performances. So that's why I'm passionate about supporting parents. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing
Yeah.
that. You also mentioned about working with the different agencies,
Yes.
Private sector, public sector, right? How, what does it take to bring all of the different stakeholders together? And yes, any of your experience, it would be valuable.
No, it takes a lot of effort for sure. And I'm trying to really create a global scale of collaborative action in bringing these different stakeholders. So because I have been able to develop separate relationships with these stakeholders, the government ministries, as I
Right.
said, the UN, financial institutions, OECDs and NGOs and think
Right.
tanks, the research institutions, and private people like myself. So what we are currently doing, what I'm currently doing at my foundation is to bring each of the things that they are good at and then trying to put it together. So to give you a very specific example, I'm trying, right now, I am bringing in the UN agencies to provide a legitimate platform
Okay.
where I bring in all these ministers of every country of the UN member nations to sign an international agreement
Okay.
for them to commit to create a national policy in their countries to support parents. And I know that government ministers, they cannot do that alone. They are good so government people are good at creating policies,
Right.
not so good at following through the policies.
Right.
But as long as I can get them to create a policy, and UN people are good at making things legitimate because they're an international agency, so they can make that platform. And I brought in financial institutions like the World Bank and
Right.
regional banks. What they're good at is they're good at providing financing. So when these countries need money to implement these policies, and I can get this I got the agreement of them to provide financing.
Right.
And the organizations like the OECD and think tanks, they're good at collecting data and doing the evaluation.
Right.
So once these policies are implemented, the OECD, I have gotten their agreement to do that. And my promise the reason why I was able to get them all together was that I promised to fund and develop a curriculum
Right.
and provide that and supply that to every government who
Right.
has agreed to sign this commitment.
Right.
So that's how I am currently bringing all this together, and it is scheduled to happen later this year in November.
Wow.
So I'm very excited about that, and it's coming together very nicely.
Right. I'm looking forward to see how it gets succeeds and the factors behind
Yes.
the success. It's going to be wonderful. Moving to the next question, can you tell me some of the success that you have seen through some of your initiatives, through scholarships or funding to the family?
Well, actually, our foundation is, in a traditional sense of the word, it's not a grant-making or scholarship-making foundation.
Right.
We have our funds, and that fund is used to fund our own programs, like the one I just shared with you. There had been families who have benefited from our foundation's support, but it is just very minimal.
Right.
We actually, because we don't have a formal a scholarship program,
Right.
it's usually people that we just personally know and we just support. So we don't really follow through with any kind of evaluation or how this
Right.
benefited. And they're just supporting our friends who are in need. So that's actually, when you were introducing me earlier
Right.
about our foundation provides scholarships,
Right.
technically we do, but that's
Right.
not our official
Okay.
area of business. So
Right.
yeah.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing. Moving on to the next question, to bring back a little nostalgia about your own education. Can you tell me something that existed when you're doing in your school which doesn't exist now anymore?
Well, I think there is a lot that we don't see anymore. My elementary and middle school education was done in Korea,
Okay.
and I was beaten a lot.
Right.
For not listening or
Right.
not getting a good marks on the exams.
Right.
We would get beaten.
Right.
I mean, I know their reasoning was to motivate us to do better,
Right,
but
right.
I don't think that exists anymore.
Right.
Does it exist in India?
Uh,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't think that exists in Korea anymore. I think if
Right.
you did that, I think the teachers will get suspended
Right.
or get fired.
Right.
Something like that doesn't exist. And also, the advancement of technology really
Right.
sort of made a big transformation in how children learn. So very old way of doing things. There was a lot of memorization
Right.
when I was going to school. I don't
Right.
think that is as heavily emphasized these days because you don't really need to memorize things.
Right.
All the answers are already there on the internet. It's
Right.
I think the focus has shifted to how to ask a good question. So I think that's a big change that I see today. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I think there is a lot of things that has changed now.
Yeah.
You just pointed out that. So having said that, what is the one hope do you see, for the future of the children and the parents?
Well, I hope that my work can really support these families, especially the ones who are coming from underserved communities
Right.
and the parents who have not received a lot of education
Right.
or do not have a lot of resources to support their children.
Right.
I hope that I can make a difference from the policy level as well as from the micro level from ground up.
Okay.
And at the same time, I really believe that, as I just mentioned, this technology really is going to play a big role
Right.
in removing that equity gap
Right.
that exists, because nowadays I think most people in the world have some level of access to
Right.
the internet and some access to smartphones and things like that. So it's a matter of showing them how to utilize that existing technology for their benefit,
Right.
to sort of not repeating that kind of a cycle.
Right.
Even if you come from certain kinds of families, you don't have your children don't need to repeat the same kind of cycle anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Makes sense. It makes sense a lot. I resonate with that.
Yeah.
So this is your first time visiting InvokED event?
Yes.
Yes. How was your experience? What do you think of platforms like this?
I think it's incredible. I was just very touched by the young Indian students
Right.
who gave a performance that was very inspiring, how much desire they have
Right.
to learn. It's incredible. I know also from the research that we've been seeing that the biggest motivation comes intrinsically.
Right.
It has to come from within.
Right.
And it seems that they really do want to learn. They really do want to study, but these external factors are making it challenging for them. And that's where the grown-ups work comes in.
Right.
And in many cases, such as in the US or in other developed countries,
Right.
Children are too comfortable and they have too many things around them. So maybe they don't have as much of that motivation to learn.
Right.
They always think that, I don't have to do this now. So I think that kind of thing is some of the very important lessons that people can learn from the students that I saw
Right.
here.
Right.
And also the other speakers who I had an opportunity to listen to, they really bring in a very extensive experience on the ground, working directly with students and teachers and families, and the reality of how things are.
Right.
That was really eye-opening for me as well. Yeah, especially in India, where I really do feel like it really has the greatest potential for
Right.
growth with this kind of this many population, investment into technology, passion for education. I
Right.
think those are the ingredients that are destined for success.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you also talk about the Bach Bros Studio a bit?
So Bach Bros Studio is my children's company. So I have 3 children, but it's my bottom 2, Ariel and Ellis. They started this business on their own.
Okay.
Out of this casual conversation that we had back in October, just 4-5 months ago.
Okay.
So I go to school myself just as a hobby, as a lifelong learner. And then I came back and then they asked me what I learned. So I basically explained it in a way that I learned it. And apparently it was not very easy for them to understand.
Right.
And then they told me, oh, it's hard to understand.
Right.
They say, oh, might as well ask my professor themselves. So I said, well, why don't you do that? Their email addresses are on the school website. Go there and write an email to them and say you want to meet them and learn about what you taught my dad.
Right.
So they did, and then the professor graciously accepted the invitation, so I took them there, and they had a conversation, and they seemed to really understand.
Right.
And what I know from my foundation's work, where we work with hundreds of different researchers,
Right.
I know that their number one struggle is that nobody reads their work. They spend so
Right.
much of their time and effort publishing something that nobody reads. On the other hand, this general public, we don't even know these type of research exists.
Right.
And even if you read them, it's not very easy to understand.
Yes.
So they were thinking, so my boys were thinking, well, because they're kids, if they are the ones asking about the researcher is somewhat forced to talk about their work in a very simple way,
Right.
so that anybody can understand.
Right.
So they will record this conversation, and then they'll put it on all social media channels, so anybody can access these conversation and they can learn and apply
Right.
into their lives. So I thought that was a really great idea, so I let them start their own company. So that's how it began. And it's really been going great. They've been, I think, met with more than a dozen different professors from prominent universities around the world.
Right.
It took them to InvokED conference. I think one of the organizers actually saw their videos online, and then
Right.
that's how they invited them
Right.
first,
Right.
not me.
Right.
And then I was just coming here as a chaperone.
Right.
And then they learned about my work and then asked me to be part of the program.
Right.
But they are going places, and it's really amazing. Yeah.
It's really good to see that. I mean, even I remember recently I just shared it, and my father was surprised to see, wow, it's so amazing to see what's happening, right?
Yes.
Can we introduce them?
Sure.
Yep.
Ariel and Ellis.
Yes. Hi. You wanna introduce yourself?
I'm Ariel and I'm 10 years old. And I'm
Hi.
Alice and I'm 8 years old in 3rd grade. Yay.
Yeah. So how was your? You took an interview of a lot of guests who attended InvokED event, right? How was your experience?
So the experience, at first it was a little like, I was a little anxious because I've never done like interviewing these high profile keynote speakers at a very large conference.
Right.
But then once I got used to it, I felt very confident. And also the experience was very enjoyable because I got to learn about a lot of different things about perspectives on leadership,
Right.
or also just what they work on and how it's important.
Wow. You want to say something?
What about you?
So when we first started, when we first came here and did our first interview, I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what do I do? And then after we finished that, I'm like I sort of got it. And then I kept doing more interviews and I got used to it.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing, your experience. I think, what you are doing is sort of inspiring a lot of children out there that they can also go and ask questions, right? Again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, audience, for tuning in. A lot of our guests are also being interviewed by Bach Bros Studio. So go and check it out, their channel. Thank you.